The biggest mistake people make when they lose someone is chasing. They run after them, send long messages, try to explain, and beg for another chance. They think that if they just say the right thing, if they just prove their worth, everything will go back to how it was. But the truth is, the more you chase, the more you push them away. The more you text, the more power you give them, and the more you try to make them see your value, the more they take you for granted. That's why you don't chase, you don't text, you don't explain. You do the one thing they never expected. You disappear, without warning, without explanation, without a single word. And that's when everything changes. Imagine you're at a magic show. The magician is pulling off tricks, making things disappear, reading minds. It's all good entertainment, but suddenly, right in the middle of a trick, he stops. No explanation, no final act. He just walks off the stage. The crowd is left confused, restless. They can't stop thinking about it. What happened? Where did he go? How does it end? That's exactly what happens when you disappear from someone's life without a trace. People expect closure. They expect an explanation. They expect the usual cycle: anger, sadness, desperate attempts to hold on. That's the game they know. That's what their mind is wired for. But when you refuse to play, when you go silent, that's when they start to panic. That's when their mind starts spinning, searching for answers they'll never find. Most people think blocking someone sends a message that cutting them off will make them realize your worth. But blocking is just another form of attention. It tells them, oh, they're just mad. It reassures them that they still matter to you. But imagine this instead. No blocks, no messages, no reaction at all. Just an empty space where you used to be. That's what drives people crazy. That's what keeps them up at night, wondering why you're not chasing, why you're not fighting, why you're not reacting like everyone else. It's human nature. People don't chase what's blocked. They chase what they can't figure out. They don't miss what's begging for their attention. They miss what slips through their hands before they even realize it's gone. Think about it. If a store you always shop at suddenly shuts down with no sign, no announcement, no explanation, just closed overnight, it bothers you. You keep walking past, wondering what happened. But if the store puts up a big sign saying, "We're closing in 7 days," you process it, accept it, and move on. That's why silence is more powerful than words. That's why doing nothing is the ultimate move. Because when someone expects a reaction and gets nothing, it shakes them to their core. Most people don't care when they hurt you. They only care when they start hurting. They don't regret losing you when you beg them to stay. They regret losing you when they realize they have no access to you anymore, when they see you living your life as if they never existed, when they feel the absence of your energy. That's why the only way to make them regret everything is to stop fighting for them, to stop giving them the attention they don't deserve, to stop letting them think they can come and go as they please. Because the moment they feel they've lost control over you, the moment they realize you're no longer waiting, that's when the regret hits them like a train. So don't chase, don't text, don't explain, just disappear. Let them sit in the silence. Let them wonder. Let them feel the loss of you like a shadow they can't escape. Because when they finally realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to even care, and that's when you win. Now say it with me: I owe no one my energy. Own it, live it. And if you're ready to take your power back, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next will make sure they never see you the same way again. Number 1, the silent storm that shakes them to the core. You don't break them by fighting for their attention. You break them by making them question if they ever mattered to you at all. Let that settle in right now. You believe blocking them will send a message, that cutting them off will teach them a lesson, that reacting, whether with anger, sadness, or cold indifference, will shake them awake. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. People don't panic when they're blocked. They panic when they have no idea what's going on in your mind. They panic when they lose their grip on you. They panic when you stop being predictable. Imagine a puppet master pulling the strings, controlling every move, making the puppet dance at will. Now picture this. The strings are suddenly cut. The puppet collapses, lifeless. The master reaches for it, tries to make it move again, but it won't. That's when panic sets in, because they never had control, only the illusion of it. That's what happens when you go silent, when you stop. Reacting when you remove yourself from their grasp. Without a fight, without a scene, without a warning. They expect drama. They expect long emotional messages. They expect tears. But when you give them nothing, that's when the game changes. That's when the weight of their choices starts to suffocate them. At first, they won't care. No one does in the beginning. They'll enjoy their so-called freedom, convince themselves they made the right choice, and maybe even act like you never mattered. But silence? It works like slow poison. It doesn't hit them immediately. It takes time to sink in, to haunt them. Because while they were expecting an explosion, all they got was emptiness. And that's a feeling they weren't prepared for. Maybe you're thinking, but if I don't block them, won't they think I still care? Won't they believe they have the upper hand? Won't they just move on without a second thought? That's the lie your mind tells you to keep you stuck. Because you think closure is something you give them. You think making them understand will set you free. But ask yourself, did they give you closure? Did they sit down and make sure you understood their actions? Did they take the time to consider your feelings before they left? They walked away assuming you'd always be there, assuming they could come back when they wanted, assuming they had control. Imagine walking into a store where everything is free. No effort, no price tags. Take what you want, leave whenever you feel like it. At first, it's fun, it's convenient. But then one day, the store is just gone. No sign, no warning, no explanation. Suddenly, it hits you. You never realized how valuable it was until it disappeared. That's what happens when you go silent, when you stop making yourself available, when you stop reacting. And let's be real, this won't be easy. Silence is uncomfortable. It makes you feel like you're losing, like you're being punished. You'll want to check in, see if they noticed, send just one more message. But every time you do, you give them back the power you just took away. Every time you break your own silence, you prove to them that they still matter, that they still have a hold over you. That stops now, because the moment they feel your absence, the moment they reach out and find nothing, that's the moment regret starts creeping in. Not when you cry, not when you post sad quotes, not when you tell them how much they hurt you. They regret losing you when they realize they have no idea what's going on in your mind right now. They think they know you. They think they have you figured out. They think they can predict exactly how you'll react. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you break the pattern, when you stop giving them the comfort of knowing where they stand with you? It messes with them because people don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. They fear the unknown. They fear uncertainty. At first, they'll pretend they don't care. They'll distract themselves, act unbothered. But then, the silence starts working against them. They start wondering, why aren't you reaching out? Are you over them? Did you replace them? And when they go searching for answers and find nothing, that's when it starts to hurt. That's when the weight of their actions comes crashing down. That's when they realize what they lost. And by the time they finally get it, you won't even care. Number 2, stop begging. Make them feel your absence like a ghost that haunts them. If words could change them, they would have changed already. Let that sink in right now. You think words hold power. You think if you just explain yourself one more time, if you find the perfect way to say it, if you pour your heart out, they'll finally understand. They'll finally wake up. They'll finally see your worth. But let me ask you, did they listen before? Did they respect your words when they had you? Did they change when you told them how much they hurt you? People don't regret losing you when you cry. They regret losing you when they can't reach you, when they realize your presence was never a guarantee. When they go looking for you and find nothing, that's when reality slams into them. That's when the weight of their choices starts crushing them. Imagine a radio station playing in the background, always on, always there. You barely notice it, you assume it will always be playing. But one day you turn the dial and silence, just static, nothing. Suddenly you feel the emptiness. Where did it go? Why isn't it there anymore? That's exactly what happens when you remove yourself from someone's life. They never truly value you until your presence turns into silence. But right now, you're making it too easy for them. You're still keeping the door open. You're still leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, hoping they'll follow you. Still answering their late-night texts, their lazy check-ins, their half-hearted attempts to keep you on standby. And you wonder why they don't respect you. People don't miss what they think they can always have. They don't regret what they believe is still within reach. And as long as you keep making yourself available, they will never feel your absence. But here's where the fear kicks in. You're scared. Scared that if you don't respond, they'll forget about you. That if you don't check in, they'll move on. That if you don't make yourself seen, they'll assume you never cared. But let me tell you something. If someone can forget about you just because you stopped chasing them, they were never yours to begin with. That should tell you everything you need to know. Because real impact isn't made through words. It's made through disappearance, through the empty space you leave behind, through the questions that haunt them when they realize they can no longer reach you. Think about it. When was the last time you truly missed something? Was it when you had it, when you could reach for it any time you wanted? Or was it when it was gone, when you realized too late that it was never coming back? That's how the human mind works. We don't crave what's explained to us. We crave what we don't understand. And that's why you need to resist the urge to give them that final explanation, because right now you want to make them see your worth. But the truth is, people don't see your worth when you tell them. They see it when they feel the loss of you, when they reach out and find nothing, when they go looking for answers and realize there are none. So let them wonder. Let them sit in their own thoughts. Let them lie awake at night, replaying every moment, every word, every little detail, trying to figure out where it all went wrong, because that's the real lesson. That's what haunts people. And here's the best part. By the time they finally understand what they lost, by the time they come crawling back desperate for that explanation, you won't even care anymore. 3, don't block. Make them watch as you become unreachable. You don't need to erase them. You don't need to block them. You just need to become someone they can never reach again. Let that settle in right now. You think blocking them is the answer, that cutting them off completely will make a statement, that if you remove them from your world, they'll finally understand what they lost. But let me tell you something. Blocking them doesn't break them. It gives them closure. It lets them walk away thinking, oh, they're just mad. They'll get over it. And that's exactly what makes it easy for them to move on. Real power isn't in slamming the door shut. Real power is in leaving it open just enough for them to see what they lost, but never enough for them to step back inside. Imagine this. You walk past a house every day. It's familiar, comfortable. You've been inside before, so you never really think about it. But one day, something changes. The windows are tinted, the door is locked, the lights are on, laughter spills from inside, but you're not invited in. You see glimpses of warmth, something new, something different. And no matter how many times you walk by, you can't go in anymore. That's what happens when you don't block them. When you simply vanish from their life, still exist in the world, growing, glowing, thriving. That's when regret starts creeping in. Because now they don't know what's happening in your world anymore. They don't know who you're with, how you feel, or if you even think about them. They're left in the dark, watching from the outside, wondering if they ever really mattered to you at all. And that unanswered question, that unknown, it will keep them up at night. People expect to be blocked. They expect the anger, the outbursts, the emotional reaction. They expect you to make it obvious that you're hurt. But when you don't, when you just disappear, not as a ghost, but as someone who no longer acknowledges their existence, that's what shakes them to their core. When someone blocks you, you know where you stand. You know they're mad. You know they still feel something. But when someone simply stops engaging, stops reacting, stops showing any sign that you exist to them, that's when the panic sets in. That's when the regret begins. Right now, you might be thinking, but if I don't block them, won't they think I still care? Won't they believe they can come back? That's the fear talking. That's the lie your mind is feeding you to keep you stuck. Because blocking someone doesn't mean you've moved on. It just means you still care enough to react. But you're smarter than that. You don't block them. You make them watch. You make them feel your absence in a way they never expected. Not by making a dramatic exit, not by announcing your silence, but by making them realize that even though you're still in this world, they no longer have the privilege of being part of yours. And trust me, that's what breaks them. Because now, they're watching, they're checking, they're scrolling through your page, searching for clues, looking for signs that you still care. And every time they see you thriving, smiling, living without them, it eats away at them. They thought they had time. They thought they could come back whenever they wanted. But now they're realizing that every day you move forward is another day they fall further behind. Here's where most people mess up. They think making someone regret losing them means posting flashy pictures, throwing hints, making sure they see how great they're doing. But real power is moving in silence. It's not about making them jealous. It's about making them realize they have no clue what's going on in your life anymore. Because nothing haunts a person more than not knowing. And here's the truth. You don't have to prove a damn thing. You don't have to force your glow up. You just have to keep moving, keep living, keep growing. And the further you go, the smaller they become. Because while they're sitting there refreshing your profile, wondering if you miss them, you've already forgotten they exist. And by the time they finally gather the courage to reach out, by the time they realize they let something priceless slip through their fingers, you'll be so far ahead you won't even hear them knocking. Number 4, reverse the power. Make them feel what you felt. They only chase when they feel they've lost control. Let that sink in right now. They believe they've got you figured out. They think they can predict your every move. They assume without a doubt that you'll always be there, waiting, hoping, reacting. And that's exactly why they don't value you. People don't respect what's always available. They don't chase what's easy. They only feel the loss when they realize they no longer have control over you. Imagine walking into a casino and finding a slot machine that pays out every single time you pull the lever. No risk, no challenge, just a guaranteed reward. At first, it's exciting. But then you stop caring. You stop appreciating the wins. You take it for granted because there's no thrill, no fear of losing. But the moment that machine stops working, the moment you pull the lever and get nothing, that's when frustration kicks in. That's when you start trying harder to get it back. That's exactly how people work. They don't chase when you're always there, always responding, always reacting. They chase when they feel you slipping away, when they reach for you and suddenly you're not there. When doubt creeps in and they start wondering, did I push too far? Did I lose them for good? Right now, you've made it too easy. You keep answering, you keep showing up, you keep reacting to their breadcrumbs, thinking, maybe, just maybe this time will be different. But they relax, they feel secure, they know they still have access to you. But the second you shift the power dynamic, everything changes, because now they feel it. Now they're the ones checking their phone, wondering why you haven't responded. Now they're the ones feeling uncertain, unsettled. And let me tell you something, they will start chasing. But not because they love you, not because they suddenly realize your worth, but because they need to feel in control again. That's where most people fail, because the moment they start chasing, you let them back in. You see that first message, that weak, hey, that sudden, how have you been? And you jump. You think, this is it. They finally see what they lost. But they don't. They're not chasing you because they regret losing you. They're chasing because they miss the power they had over you. They want to know if they can still pull your strings, if they can still walk in and out of your life whenever they please, if they still own a piece of you. And the moment you respond, you hand that power right back to them. But not this time. This time you let them feel it. This time you don't rush to reply. This time you don't fall for the same game. Because this time you're in control. And let me be clear, this won't be easy. You'll want to respond. You'll want to prove something. You'll feel that urge to show them you don't care anymore. But true power isn't in proving anything. It's in not needing to prove it at all. The strongest move you can ever make is the one they never expected. So what do you do instead? You stay silent. You keep moving. You keep living as if they never existed. And when they come running back, desperate for the comfort they once had, you let them feel what you once felt: uncertainty, doubt, regret. Because the moment they realize they lost you for good, that's when the real panic begins. And by then, you won't even care. Number 5, make them feel replaceable. Show them they were just another face in the crowd. They thought they were special until you showed them they were just another name in your past. Let that sink in, right? Now someone out there still believes they have a grip on you. They think you're sitting in the same place they left you, waiting, hoping, breaking. They convince themselves that you'd never move on, that no one else could ever take their place. That's the lie they tell themselves to feel powerful. But what happens when you prove them wrong? When they see you thriving, when they see you smiling, glowing, evolving without them, that's when the regret creeps in. That's when the tables turn. They expected you to be stuck. They expected you to struggle. They expected you to sit in the wreckage, replaying the past, waiting for them to come back. But instead, you became the one thing they never thought you'd be: untouchable. Imagine a musician who only plays one instrument, believing it's the only source of music. They pour everything into it, convinced nothing else matters. But one day, that instrument is gone. And suddenly they realize there's an entire orchestra out there. Violins, pianos, drums, melodies they never even considered. And in that moment, they understand the truth. They were never the music. You were. That's exactly what happens when they realize you were never dependent on them. When they see their absence didn't break you, it freed you. And here's where the fear kicks in. Right now, you're thinking, but what if I really can't replace them? What if no one else makes me feel the way they did? That's the lie your mind tells you to keep you stuck. Because you were never afraid of losing them. You were afraid of losing the idea of them, the version of them that existed only in your mind, the version you wish was real. But let's be honest, if they were really that special, you wouldn't be here right now trying to figure out how to make them regret losing you. Because real love, real connection, it doesn't require games. It doesn't leave you questioning your worth. It doesn't make you feel like you have to earn someone's attention. And that's why it's time to wake up. Nothing makes a person realize they messed up more than seeing the one they thought was theirs in the arms of someone else. Nothing breaks the ego more than realizing they were just a stepping stone in your journey. Nothing hits harder than watching someone they took for granted become unreachable. But here's where most people go wrong. They think proving they've moved on means posting pictures with someone new, trying to make them jealous, forcing them to see what they lost. But real power is moving so far forward that you forget you were ever trying to prove anything in the first place. Because when you truly replace them, not just with another person, but with a better life, that's when they start questioning everything. Think about it. Imagine a kid who throws away a toy, thinking it's worthless. At first, they don't care. They assume they'll always have something better. But one day, they see another child playing with that same toy, laughing, enjoying it, appreciating it. And suddenly, they want it back. Suddenly, they realize what they threw away. That's exactly how regret works, because at first, they're too busy feeling free, too distracted to care, too caught up in their own ego to realize what they lost. But then, time starts working against them. They start comparing, they start searching, they start realizing that what they had with you wasn't ordinary. And when they finally see you shining, growing, becoming someone they can't touch anymore, that's when it hurts. And by the time they understand what they lost, you won't even be looking back. Number 6, the power of mystery. Make them fear what they can't predict. A person they can't read is a person they can't control. Let that sink in right now. They think they've got you all figured out. They believe they know exactly how you'll react. They expect the late-night text, the emotional post, the slip-up where you check their profile. They expect you to show them, one way or another, that they still have a hold over you. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you break the script? When you stop playing the role they assigned to you? When you vanish, not as a ghost, but as a mystery? That's when the panic sets in. That's when they start overthinking. That's when they start questioning. Wait, why aren't they reacting? Are they really over me? Did I not matter at all? And that thought, that unanswered question, it will stick in their mind like a song they can't get out of their head. People don't fear losing what they understand. They fear losing what they can't predict. Imagine watching a movie right before the big reveal and the screen goes black. No explanation, no closure, just gone. Your mind doesn't let it go. You replay the scenes, trying to make sense of it. You need to know how it ends. That's exactly what happens when you become unpredictable. They expected a certain version of you, the one who chases, who explains, who seeks closure, who makes it obvious they were important. But when you don't give them that, when you become unreadable, when you stop reacting the way they want you to, that's when they start losing their grip. Because control isn't about forcing someone to stay, it's about knowing you could get them back at any moment. And right now, they still believe they could. They think if they sent a message, you'd answer. If they posted something meant to get your attention, you'd see it. If they reached out in just the right way, you'd come running. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you leave them on read? Not just in messages, but in life. What happens when they check to see if you're watching and you're not? That's when they start spiraling, because suddenly they are the ones waiting. They are the ones refreshing. They are the ones analyzing every little detail, trying to figure out what's going on in your mind. And the more they think about you, the more they realize they don't know you anymore. And that drives people insane. Certainty is comfortable. When people know exactly where they stand with you, when they can predict your next move, they don't fear losing you. They assume they still have you. But when you take that certainty away, when you become a closed book, an unsolved mystery, a question without an answer, that's when you become unforgettable. Right now, you might be thinking, But if I stop reacting, won't they just move on? Won't they forget about me? Because the mind doesn't let go of what it doesn't understand. The things that haunt us the most, the relationships that leave us questioning, the ones that didn't end the way we expected, those are the ones we can't stop thinking about. That's exactly why you don't explain yourself, you don't give them closure, you don't react, you don't show them anything. You let them sit in the confusion. You let them wonder. You let them feel the weight of their own choices. And here's where most people mess up. They think being unpredictable means playing games. They think it means making someone jealous, pretending to be happy, faking a glow-up just to get a reaction. But real unpredictability, real power, it comes from genuinely not caring anymore, from actually moving on, from becoming so at peace with yourself that their presence or absence doesn't shake you anymore. Because when you're truly unpredictable, it's not an act, it's freedom. And by the time they finally gather the courage to reach out, by the time they start craving the clarity they thought they'd always have, you'll be so far ahead, they won't even recognize the person you've become. Number 7, no closure. Let the silence haunt them forever. They didn't give you closure, so why should you hand it to them? Let that settle in right now. You feel this urge to explain, to tell them why you walked away, to make sure they understand how much they hurt you. You want to send that message, write that long paragraph, get them to see your side of things. But let me ask you, when they walked away, when they ignored you, when they treated you like an afterthought, did they give you closure? They left you in confusion. They moved on like you never mattered. They made you question everything while they carried on without a care. And now, as you're the one walking away, you feel guilty for not explaining yourself. You feel like you owe them something. That's the biggest lie you've been fed. Explanations don't create regret, absence does. Imagine sitting in a packed movie theater, watching a film that's been building up for 2 hours. You're invested, waiting for the big moment, the resolution, the closure. And then, boom, the screen cuts to black. No ending, no answers, just silence. That feeling, that frustration, that need to know what happened next. That's exactly what happens when you disappear without a word. Because people expect closure. They expect a conversation. They expect to have that last word, that final moment where everything is explained and wrapped up. But when you give them nothing, when you walk away and leave them standing in silence, that's when it haunts them. That's when regret starts to eat away at them. People don't panic when you explain yourself, because when you explain, they get relief. They get to understand your pain. They get to hear your reasons and tell themselves, oh, okay, that makes sense. They get comfort. But when you vanish, when they have no idea why you left, when they sit there replaying every moment, every conversation, trying to figure out where it all went wrong, that's when the silence starts working against them. And here's where your fear creeps in. You're scared that if you don't explain, they'll assume you never cared, that if you don't give them a reason, they'll move on like you were nothing, that if you don't say something, they'll forget about you. But let me tell you something, if someone can forget about you just because you stopped explaining yourself, they were never yours to begin with. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Because real impact isn't made through words, it's made through disappearance, through the empty space you leave behind, through the questions that haunt them when they realize they can no longer reach you. Think about it. When was the last time you truly missed something? Was it when you had it, when you could reach for it anytime you wanted? Or was it when it was gone, when you realized too late that it was never coming back? That's how the human mind works. We don't crave what's explained to us, we crave what we don't understand. And that's why you need to resist the urge to give them that final explanation. because right now you want to make them see your worth. But the truth is, people don't see your worth when you tell them. They see it when they feel the loss of you, when they reach out and find nothing, when they go looking for answers and realize there are none. So let them wonder. Let them sit in their own thoughts. Let them lie awake at night, replaying every moment, every word, every little detail, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Because that's the real lesson. That's what haunts people. And here's the best part. By the time they finally understand what they lost, by the time they come crawling back desperate for that explanation, you won't even care anymore. Number 8, let time break them. The longer they go without you, the more it hurts. The longer they go without you, the more they feel it. Let that settle in right now. You think they don't care. You think they've moved on, that they're out there laughing, living, unbothered by your absence. And you? You're sitting there wondering, did I even matter? Do they even miss me? But let me tell you something. Time is your greatest weapon. At first they won't feel it. No one ever does in the beginning. They're distracted. They convince themselves they made the right choice. They tell themselves they'll be fine without you. But time? Time doesn't let them off that easy. Imagine this. You get a brand new pair of shoes. They look great. They feel good enough. And for a while you don't even think about the old pair you used to wear every day. But then one day, those new shoes start pinching. They don't fit quite right. They're uncomfortable. And suddenly you remember how perfectly those old ones used to fit, how they never let you down, how you took them for granted. But by the time you realize it, they're long gone. That's exactly how regret works. Right now they think they have all the time in the world. They think they can replace you, that they can go out, find someone else, and fill the space you left behind. But slowly, oh so slowly, they start to notice something. No one treats them like you did. No one listens the way you listened. No one understands them the way you understood them. And that's when it hits. That's when the silence becomes loud. That's when the emptiness starts creeping in. At first they'll act unbothered. They'll pretend they're fine. They might even post pictures, go out, make it seem like they're happier than ever. But that's all it is. A performance, a distraction. Because deep down, they're waiting for you to react, waiting for you to check in, waiting for some kind of sign that you're still there, still watching, still waiting. But when you give them nothing, when the days turn into weeks, the weeks into months, and they realize you're not coming back, that's when the regret starts sinking in like quicksand. And here's where most people mess up. They break too soon. They sit there counting the days, checking their phone, waiting for the regret to kick in, waiting for that message that never comes. And because they're still waiting, they're not really gone. They're still emotionally tied to the person who walked away from them. But you're different. You don't wait. You don't count the days. You don't sit there wondering when they'll wake up and realize what they lost. Because the moment you do, you're still letting them control you. You have to let go completely. You have to trust that time always does its job, because one day they'll hear a song that reminds them of you, and for the first time, instead of feeling nothing, they'll feel everything. One day they'll be out with friends, but their mind will drift. And suddenly they'll wonder where you are, what you're doing, and if they still have a chance. One day they'll reach for their phone, about to type your name into that search bar, about to send that message they never thought they'd send. And by the time they do, you won't even care anymore. Because while they were out there pretending to be fine, you were moving forward, you were growing, you were becoming someone they no longer have access to. And that is the real punishment, not blocking them, not begging for them to see your worth, but making sure that by the time they realize what they lost, you're already gone. So now it's time to make a choice. You can sit there, waiting, hoping, checking your phone every 5 minutes to see if they've finally woken up. Or you can let time work against them instead of against you. No more chasing, no more explaining, no more waiting. You let time do its job and you keep moving forward. Because by the time they realize what they lost, you'll be too far ahead to care.